So with that, I will cut over to Zeke if you have any questions from the audience attendees. Otherwise, we'll continue the discussion on ADPPA. Zeke?
Yeah, we have a couple questions. The first is around. Oh, we lost Divya. Hopefully she'll join back in. The first is around CPPA and the effectiveness on enforcing CPRA. I don't know if you have a comment, Michelle, and we'll wait for Divya to come back, around what your prediction would be for the effectiveness of CPPA enforcing CPRA.
Yeah, so my company is a privacy engineering platform. So I love CPRA. It talks about privacy by design. The minute you actually are using my platform, you actually are ticking a very large box that people are not ticking, which is you're actually shifting left and doing privacy by design, big or small. So deep bias, come and check out Privacy Code. It's awesome. Now, realistically, the thing that I would do if I was a mean person and didn't care about moving us forward, if I was a class action lawyer looking to do what everybody did with cookies and cleared gifts and advertising in the early aughts, I would just drive up and down the road and say, are you deleting your data? Are you deleting your data? Are you deleting your data? No, 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 pay me. So can it be enforced? Is there a lot of stuff, as Vijay's research has shown, very few people are actually doing repeatable things to comply with the law today. Those folks are creating a liability tornado for themselves. So is it scaring people? Is it creating scary situations? Will there be prosecutions under the attorneys general? I think yes. I think it's taken time. And I also think this, quite frankly, we've been busy as a globe since 2020 and 2021. Things have been rough. So I think,
I got kicked off. So I wasn't sure if I missed too much, but I think you guys were talking about enforcement and, whether it's likely that CPPA will be able to enforce CPRA. I think it's a great question. Right now, as it's being debated, you might have just touched on this, but just preemption in general, I think is a very tricky concept now that we have 5 state consumer privacy laws. With regard to CPPA and their authority, I can see why. I see both sides. We are definitely on the side that there should be, as a trade association, we think there should be one national standard, and that way there's the FTC and the state AGs that can really enforce at the federal level. But I understand that at the state level they've put in all the work to move forward on consumer privacy law, and so it's a tricky kind of balance. But as we see more state laws come together, there is going to be additional tension between the privacy protecting agencies and other enforcement agencies. And so it's a tough, I think, ball of wax to move forward on. But if we can get here with California, then maybe we can actually get a data privacy law passed, so I think assuaging the fears, I think, of California is going to be the #1 priority in order to move forward on ADPPA. So as we've seen, I think during the markup, just share a little bit of inside intel. At the markup that happened last week on the ADPPA, there were 2 representatives from California, Representative Matsui and Eshu. Both of them spoke up about an amendment that Eshu had tried to move forward, and that amendment would have completely downgraded the language that's currently in the preemption section of ADPPA and would have made it so that ADPPA would just be the floor and not the ceiling. And I think that's now the conversation that's up to debate. And, it makes sense from their perspective. At the same time, when you look at other laws like the Copyright Act, and the way that functions, and the fact that states that with equivalent rights around copyright would no longer be able to dictate terms, it's really dependent on the feds to make that call. In some ways, I think there's a lot of similarity between copyright and data privacy, and so it makes sense to me that there should be some sort of standard so that there's not this confusion around which states have better standards versus other states that might have weaker dimensions to data privacy. And so it's really interesting. We'll have to wait and see how things play out.
And meanwhile, we're at all of this. I'll throw a big monkey wrenches. After Dobbs, do we have privacy at the federal level? Yeah. Is HIPAA unconstitutional when Griswold, Casey, and Roe go away? We don't know. And what this court has done, if you're in Oklahoma, how does that federal law and the sort of degradation of tribal sovereignty with the last, sort of gotchas that were thrown out by this latest court. What does that mean for privacy? There's a lot of big questions here. So the more consistency and compliance and cost controls, I love that you threw out the $130 to comply with CPRA. I think that's a per second estimation, but they didn't say.
Yeah, I can't even find how they got to that calculation. I think that's been an open question that a number of our trade associations are going to be raising is like, is there a better way to get, let's reverse engineer that, because if you can't give us a good understanding of that estimate, then there's no way we can really, reaffirm that.
And how are we going to our CEOs and asking for budget to buy these tools if it's like, it's only $130?
Yes.
Well, great. You can hire a high school kid to come in and say the word privacy, and that's $130 plus gas.
Yep. Great. Michelle and Divya, thank you very much for the lively discussion. Zeke, why don't you take it over?
Yes. Thank everyone that attended. A special thank you to Michelle, Divya, Vijay for putting on the panelist conversation as well as the research results. If you are interested in having a conversation with Citrio or demo or a trial, please email info@citrio.com or visit our website at citrio.com, and we'll be back in touch with you. I will send a copy of the recording and a link to our research results to all of the attendees on this call today. Thanks again for taking some time with us and looking forward to speaking with you down the road. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.